Jesus says to Peter, go pay our taxes. I want you to go fishing. That's what you do for a living. I want you to go fishing, and the first fish you catch, you're going to find enough taxes for me and you. Peter goes, reels in a bass or something. And Jesus is not a magician either. Okay, he's not this David Copperfield. He's not whatever, Chris Angel or whoever you like. Okay, this is real. This is real, bending the laws of nature, bending reality because he created it. Right? Colossians 1 says that Jesus is the creator of all things and he's the sustainer of all things. John chapter 1 says that from him came everything and nothing was made that has been made without him. How would you guys like to teleport to somewhere without having to drive or just sort of. Anyone remember the old school? This is for the old school heads here. Old school Star Trek. Let me see hands. Okay, one, two. Those are all the people who were like 80s kids right there, right? 80s kids. Or older, 70s. Sorry, bro. Or 70s. Okay, and do you guys remember Beam Me Up? Okay, beam me up, Scotty. And the idea was they got in this little teleporter thing, and he could transport them to. Did you know that actually happens in the Bible? You're like, nah, yeah. Okay. Philip and the Ethiopian eunuch, he's witnessing to this Ethiopian. He gets this sort of voice from God, and he's like, go catch that chariot. And as he goes, the guy's reading from Isaiah 53, and Philip says, do you understand what you're reading? Now, those of you who know Isaiah 53, that is the clearest prophecy of Jesus in the Old Testament. Here, this non-Christian guy from Africa, Ethiopia, is reading Isaiah 53, and he's like, do you understand what you're reading? He's like, no. How can I understand unless someone shows me? Pulls him up in, says, explain it. Philip gives him the gospel. He believes, and he says, look, there's water. Why shouldn't I be baptized? And it says, as they were coming out of the water, this is Acts chapter 8. Let me just read it for you because I love how it says it. Acts chapter 8, here it is. As they traveled along the road, they came to some water, and the eunuch said, look, here is water. Why shouldn't I be baptized? And he gave orders to stop the chariot. Both Philip and the eunuch went down into the water. Philip baptized him. When they came up out of the water, the Spirit of the Lord suddenly took Philip away, and the eunuch did not see him again, but went on his way rejoicing. Where'd he go? Philip, however, appeared at Azotus and traveled about preaching the gospel in the towns until he reached Caesarea. Beam me up, Scotty. That's impossible. Or is it? Okay, for you to be, right? You're coming out of the water with dude, and all of a sudden you're somewhere else. And you're like, guess I'll preach the gospel. I mean, right? What, that's what it says. And he went about preaching the gospel from town. We're talking about God here. What'd you say? Yeah. Hey, here's another one. The road to Emmaus. You guys remember that story? Jesus is resurrected. Two disciples are walking along the road. They may have been one of the 12, two of the 12, because as they're walking, their faces are down, and it says Jesus walked up alongside them, and they didn't recognize him. He's like, what are you guys talking about? Or haven't you heard about the things that have happened here in these days? And he's like, what things? Here, they're talking about him, right? And they explain all about Jesus of Nazareth, and they're telling him the story of what he just lived. And it says, beginning with Moses, well, Moses is Genesis, he showed them all the places where the Son of Man had to suffer and die. And so Jesus gave them a Bible study as they walked. They didn't know it was Jesus. They gave them a Bible study as they walked, and finally they got to the house. They're like, oh man, this dude is serious. Please eat with us. Stay and have food with us. And so he prays for dinner, and as he breaks bread, disappears. And they're like, it was the Lord. It was, did not our hearts burn within us as he explained to us as we traveled on the road? They run all the way back to Jerusalem where they came from, where they just walked to Emmaus. They run all the way back. They get the brothers, the 12, right? And they're like, he was here. We saw him. He was explaining to us the scriptures. Guess what? All of a sudden, he's there in the room with them. And they're like, oh, right? They're talking about what just happened. They're like, come on, are you serious? You really think it was him? And boom, he's right there. Beam me up, Scotty. Another time, they're in a locked room, they're eating food, and Jesus appears in the room, okay? What I'm trying to show you is we're in store for some crazy stuff, okay? When Jesus can talk to water and nature and it obeys him, okay, and that's who we're going to be with forever. Can you imagine? The Bible literally says that he spoke and everything that is came into existence. He takes nothing and he creates everything out of it. We create with what already is, right? We painters paint with paint and canvases, and wood crafters take wood and nails and screws and they make, and then artists take pens and pads and sound waves and microphones, and we create, but we need something. God takes nothing and creates everything. It's amazing. And that's what it is to be God. And what's interesting is in heaven, it says that we'll be with him. It says he will be our God. And not only that, but there's no sun. There's no light in heaven except for God himself. He is the light that lights everything. You seen Avatar, how the stuff glows at night? Far beyond that. Okay? Way better than that. That's man's imagination of what some kind of paradise would look like. When God creates paradise to display his own glory, like when you guys go to, anyone been to the Grand Canyon? Anyone been to some tropical island? No? Okay. Anyone seen a beautiful sunset? Okay, everyone, hopefully. All right. Think of them, I mean, when you're just like blown away, or like the clouds are so crazy that you guys got to tell someone, like, you got to come see this. Okay? When you want to get your camera out on your phone and take a picture of the sky, something's going on. Right? Or when I'm at Lowe's and I see this flower that's so amazing, I'm like, I got to, right? Here's the deal. God does that to show himself off. And that's just a cursed, wretched earth that's under his curse. Imagine what the curse lifted, no more sin, and you have a body to fully accept and the reality of total pleasure is able to be. We're talking new colors, new sounds, new tastes, teleporting. We're talking, okay, real though. This isn't dreaming. This is real, and we're going there. Okay, and think about this. Let's say that wall and this wall are the stretches of eternity. How big is your life? Maybe. Okay, so something goes wrong in your life. You think God knows what he's doing? Do you? And the question is, do you trust him? That's really the question. Okay? When we think about who God is and his might and power, and do we believe what he says about himself? And do we believe that he really loves his children like he says he does? And do we believe that everything works for good? Whether it's a foul thing or a really good thing. Do we believe it? Right? Oh, the depth of the witches. He crushes witches, right? Harry Potter, no problem. Okay? Oh, the depth of the riches of the wisdom and knowledge of God. How unsearchable his judgments and his paths beyond tracing out. Who has been his counselor, or who has known the mind of the Lord? Or who has given to him that he should repay him? For from him and to him and through him are all things. Okay? We didn't finish, so we'll visit this one more time. I do want to focus next week on the counseling section of this, sort of like how we try to counsel God. And then after that, I want to focus on the from him, to him, and through him are all things. So next week we should really be done. Even though I said definitely tonight. Sorry. What we'll do is we'll pray, and then questions. We could do questions. We could hang out. There's more food. I do have CDs for everybody. They're just random CDs. They're just random teachers, not random teachers. They're good teachers, but on random subjects. So